What is mise-en-scène? Mise-en-scène is often translated from the French to mean to place in the scene. It is a term that defines the visual elements and the arrangement of those elements that occupy the space in front of the camera. It is the stuff that you put in front of a camera, but it is much more than that. On set, we can think about this as meaning all of the actors, their makeup, the set dressing, costumes, and props, as it is translated into visual data thanks to the camera. Let's think about that term visual data for a minute. When one revels in the beauty of the colors within a film shot, or the symmetry of a film's composition, or when one appraises the appropriateness of the objects within the film frame, one is looking at elements of a scene's mise-en-scène. Even the film medium itself, the texture and color process of that film, can be attributed to this term, mise-en-scène. Let's start by taking a look at an example together. Here is a shot from Ferris Bueller's Day Off. And in this single frame, there are many visual cues to take in at once. Look at this image and try to identify the most noticeable element in the film frame. What does your eye immediately notice? Because the director has arranged the elements of the visual palette, this is also known as composing a shot, our eyes are drawn towards important visual cues which all contribute to a shot's messaging. If we were to analyze this shot for its emotive quality, for example, we can look at the similarity in posture between the three friends. There is perhaps an intimacy or camaraderie between these three friends that is an overarching theme in the film. If we were to analyze this shot for its costuming, we can say that since Ferris Bueller and Sloane are lovers, it is interesting that they are dressed more similarly than Alan Ruck's character, Cameron, the one in the back. Matthew Broderick and Mia Sara also seem to be wearing the same color on the bottom, in fact. To analyze this shot for its staging, we can observe that just as these three characters are gazing at paintings bound by frames, so too are we gazing at them bound by the frame of the camera. Even though many comedies are overlooked for their visual design, we can see that John Hughes understands film composition and mise-en-scène as important components to storytelling. While editors tell stories using an assemblage of multiple images, cinematographers and production designers, those who work with mise-en-scène in mind, can tell story using a single image. There are many ways that a film director controls the image, and by extension, the message of a film, by manipulating space and lines within a two-dimensional film plane. According to film critic and producer Bruce Bloch in his book, The Visual Story, mise-en-scène can be seen as two pairs of compositional opposites, deep space and flat space, and limited space and ambiguous space. These four spatial considerations play major roles in compositional theory, and we will look at all four with examples. Let's take a look at deep space first. When cameras are angled against or are perpendicular to major lines that run through an image, like a sidewalk or a bunch of trees, the lines form a vanishing point in the frame. This is a compositional quality known as deep space. Deep space accentuates size differences between objects close to the camera versus those that are far. Placing objects near to or at the vanishing point can be used to accentuate that particular object. This can be particularly effective in highly tense moments of a particular film. Sometimes placing objects near a vanishing point can make the characters appear heroic, or sometimes even guilty. Painters from before the age of cameras have been inserting commentary of perspective in portraits and still lifes for years. Deep space isn't just dramatic, it also draws the viewer's eye to the point of interest in the frame. Regardless of the subject matter of the image or painting, the lines in deep space composition create an illusion of depth. Conversely, when cameras are positioned parallel to major lines, creating a uniformity of relative size, this composition is known as flat space. Flat space uses parallel lines and planes and generally produces a tidy and balanced look. Different directors have used flat space successfully in different ways. Sometimes symmetry in mise-en-scène is used to show characters who seem trapped or unnoticed. Sometimes this symmetry can be used to show characters in an awkward situation. And yes, we can definitely see flat space usage in classical art as well. Not only does flat space render an image in an organized way, flat space can have its noble and stirring qualities about it also. Not to mention, flat space is a very common framing device to show figures in an egalitarian manner, bringing even disparate characters together into one conversation. So by themselves, individual shots communicate their own emotional value, and frame its characters in its unique way. But as a movie progresses, we can also see emotional change when shots go from deep space to flat space, and conversely, flat space to deep space. And sometimes you can even see a combination of flat and deep within the same shot. This is referred to as limited space. Limited space divides the film surfaces into 2 or sometimes more sections, allowing for deep and flat to exist together. It has a disorienting effect sometimes, and therefore it is a very common mise-en-scène that you will see in thrillers or avant-garde cinema. Taking it one step further, ambiguous space occurs when all horizontal and longitudinal lines are obliterated in the shot, making it very difficult for the viewer to see size difference and establish a true sense of perspective. It is not just avant-garde cinema where we see ambiguous space. Some directors have harnessed ambiguous space effectively in horror and sci-fi. And ultimately, what's nice about making these discoveries on set is that you don't need a large budget to be able to use line to your advantage. Controlling mise-en-scène with careful composition and attention to the perspective of your shot can definitely add meaning to photographs and films. Regardless of budget, student and professional directors alike can pack in a lot of subtextual information by tightly controlling or loosely adhering to these simple compositional rules. Think about line and perspective the next time you compose a photograph or shoot a video. Hi everyone. If you like what you saw, please consider following me on the social media links you see on the screen. If you wish to show more support, I will include a link to purchase my new classroom textbook and my Patreon page, which I will link below. Thank you so much again for watching, and don't forget to subscribe.